Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Community FC. We've got episode 2 of the Roundup review from season 2, obviously, as we started the new one. So we're just excited to jump into it. We're going to keep the same format as we did last week. So let me introduce my guest, as always, at the moment. Rich, how you doing, mate?
Very good, thank you, Aidan. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad at all. So we've got some interesting points to talk through. Some of them we're going to be kind of brief and touch on. Some of them we're going to go a little bit more in depth. We'll try and keep it fairly succinct and quick. So we're going to start with the relegation battle. And by all means, let you kick off in this. We'll start at the bottom of the table and we'll see where the world takes us.
Yeah, it's heating up. Was it Friday night game?
Yeah.
Was it Friday? Yeah, that was a huge game in terms of a relegation 6-pointer, and we've had Norwich kind of jumping out the traps there and beating Watford 3-0. Interesting point on that is that Dean Smith, having come to Norwich, has now seen the sacking of Rafa and Ranieri.
Yeah.
So that was taking the heads off of that one. I'd be a little bit worried if I was the next team to play Norwich.
Absolutely, and we will touch on Ranieri later on in the episode as well. But I mean, we said this at the start, right? When Dean Smith came in, we were like, "That's the most like poison chalice job right now. You're going to be going down 100%. You know, it's not going to go well for you." And all of a sudden, he has, he obviously listened to Community FC, took our advice on some of the loanee players and played them a bit more. But he seems to get in them working and as a team, and he's getting draws, he's getting wins, and there really seems to be some belief around some of these players, and it's just working out so well for them. And fair play to them. Newcastle, who we're going to touch on as well, also got a win, and that relegation battle is really heating up right now on form. Burnley are looking like their bottom place, but realistically, I think that'll switch around. And if I was going to predict now compared to the end of the season, I would have said it's going to be Watford bottom, then Burnley, and then potentially a Newcastle, a Norwich, or we'll get onto this, maybe even an Everton. What do you think about that?
I mean, so if I was a Norwich fan, I wouldn't be getting too carried away.
Yeah.
They've obviously got 2 wins on the trot now, which is fantastic. It's a great start, but it was against and frankly piss poor Everton.
Yeah,
and Watford. They've got Palace up next, then they've got City, Liverpool, and then Southampton. Which is they've got some big games coming up, and then they start to see some of the other. You've got Leeds coming up as well, but generally it looks like it could be tough, and coming into that back end of the season, if I was looking at playing other teams in the bottom 5 or 6, I'd be worried because of that's a real scrap then.
Yeah.
But you're right. Well, I think Watford they're in the mire now. I think maybe 2 months ago, I probably would have thought that they might have just had enough to stay clear of it. But they're going to get a new manager bounce. We'll cover that a little bit later on. But there will be some sort of bounce from. They've got a decent squad.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They're not a terrible squad. Burnley, I am concerned about. I don't think they have. I don't think they have the squad this time to keep them up. And Newcastle as well. I mean, they've got one win. Yeah. Let's see who else they bring in.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so exciting, isn't it? That it is going to be so close, because we were dead set on Norwich being dead last. Yeah, I still think they probably will go down, and I think realistically they probably deserve to go down on the whole way that Norwich kind of go up and then go down again. But Burnley, yeah, I agree. I don't think they've got the squad for it. I definitely think they've got the manager for it. I really do rate Sean Dyche, and I've said it for years and years and years that he's always going to stay at Burnley 1 year longer. He keeps signing those contracts, and this is what's going to happen. This is probably going to be the season that breaks it, and then we'll see. Maybe he will switch. But it's one of those interesting things where I think it's not him. It's probably going to be the squad, and then the other ones. It's just going to be a really interesting fight. Newcastle, depending on we'll get onto the minute transfers and stuff, that could change their look around. But it's exciting for neutrals to see the bottom teams. But yeah, you'd be terrified if you are one of those bottom 6 teams, because it generally could be any of them, and that's
there's
kind
not
of
an awful lot that separates them really, and. The fact that Everton, they're 4 points clear of the relegation zone. If you're an Everton fan, you're fuming right now, because you'd never expect your team to be in that position. So they've got on the face of it, a decent squad.
Yeah, but
they're
just
not a
injured and
bad
not
side.
working, or yeah,
Injured,
exactly.
not working. Wrong manager? Question mark.
Well, and
Um,
no current manager apart from
no
interims.
current. This is it, and nothing set up. I think I read an article today where the owner was looking at not making a knee-jerk
Hmm.
hiring, trying to find the right person for the job,
Yeah.
rather than maybe steers them clear of the relegation zone but sacks them early next season.
Yeah, and to be fair, if
Um,
you've got someone with the presence and a fear factor of Duncan Ferguson taking over, like I saw a comment on some social, and I was like 100% agree. He's like, they might not have won the game, and they didn't play particularly well, but they looked much better than they had done under Rafa for the last weeks, and he will get them going because he just won't take anything.
no, exactly. I mean, and they came up against a revitalized Aston Villa.
Mhm.
That's always going to be hard. They've got a strong squad now. It was always going to be a little bit of an uphill battle for them. But you never know that they might see depending on who comes in, a little bit of a new manager bounce. And might see them to get enough clear, but you certainly wouldn't be happy. I think everyone else is probably fine.
Just about, yeah.
Just about, you could talk about Leeds and Brentford. And I'd
Yeah.
like to say, Brentford, for anyone who's been listening to us ramble on about football for a while now, I said in the very first episode of the Roundup review that Brentford would get found out,
Hmm.
and they have gotten found out now. People understand how they play.
Yeah.
People understand how compact they can be,
Yeah.
and they work around that. They know that Tony is a danger, so they work on marking him out the game. And I think Brentford are a bit of a one-trick pony, and also I think Leeds as well. Some people might be a little bit surprised to see them where they are after last season, but again, I think people have worked out how Bielsa runs his team.
Yeah.
But I think they'll have enough.
Yeah, and so do I. But I think only just. I think Leeds are going to have an extremely poor season compared to last year, and I think Brentford will not finish that far from Leeds. But I think they have been figured out a little bit. But I think they've got such a unison in that squad. You can see they really like playing together in the way they do. But I also think they've done such wonders early on in the season, getting results that they shouldn't have. That's where they picked up the points to guarantee their safety, in my opinion, unless they have an apocalyptic collapse. But also the last point I wanted to make quickly before we move on was on the Everton Aston Villa game, just for the extra salt, it had to be a Digne cross, didn't it? It had to be. Like, and obviously all the Agent Rafa videos and everything is hilarious, like seeing all of it. But I was like, but he was going to step up that day and he was going to get some points. And do you know what? He might end up doing really, really well in that Villa squad. But anyway, we will move on from the bottom of the table to the top of the table. We won't spend too long on this. But I just wanted to talk about, obviously, your game, being a Saints fan. But I just wanted to talk about the City streak and how that happened as well. So for anyone that didn't know, City, obviously, it was they were on a 12-game winning streak, which is, they kind of started a little bit slow and then absolutely just took off and looked like the old City that just destroy everything, really, don't they? They're just absolutely rampant.
Oh yeah.
But Southampton, you can talk about it for a little bit. By absolutely all means, they put up an absolute fight.
Yeah, well, Pep wasn't really reckoning on Ralph's plucky Reds stepping up and becoming a bit of a wall for him. We've played them twice this season, and we've drawn both matches, and I think that is fantastic. And from a Saints fan's point of view, I think it's really starting to show now that this team has got another gear and it's ready to kick on a little bit. Arguably could have been 2 or 3-0 up before half time. We're Brozier offside. Well, firstly, that Kyle Walker-Peters goal was fantastic.
Yeah,
really well taken. Absolutely love to see it. I think we were compact. I think we attacked well on the counter. We set up to take the game to City, which is not something a lot of teams do. And I think the first half, I think we were given as good as we got. The second half, I think, was a defensive masterclass. Yes, we conceded a goal. Fraser Forster caught in no man's land for that free kick. But to stay resolute when City were knocking on the door, hammering on the door for the entire second half, was a great performance from Southampton. But it also for the neutrals, it makes things
Good
a bit
game.
more excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and
And
good result
it
for
makes
that. Yeah.
things more exciting for the league because yes, City are so far ahead still.
Yeah.
And I know Liverpool have got a game in hand, but they are that kind of maybe arrested them a little bit. I would be worried if I was playing City next though, because
Yeah.
they'll be looking to bounce
Absolutely.
back.
Yeah, I think the way Pep works, that's always going to be a thing. I think he said in his interview, which you're always going to say, aren't you? If you're in that position, like we're going to drop points at some point, it's going to happen, but that is slightly bitter from the result. But also, I think there is some truth in it, and the same as Klopp being like, well, absolutely, we're not back in the title race just yet, even though they are the closest competitor because they're so far behind. But I just think well done to Southampton for putting the brakes on. It does make it slightly better for neutrals because it is becoming closer, but let's not blow it out proportion. But I was just going to say on the defense of the second half, like it takes a lot to frustrate KDB the way that you did. Like De Bruyne was absolutely fuming, and like he was complaining to the lino on the corner flag the whole time about getting kicked and challenges and decisions that should have gone their way, and that just proves that you were rattling them, and they were trying everything, and it just wasn't working.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen the pictures of Romeu and Grealish.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing, and at some point, I'll kind of hijack this a little bit, but at some point in the last couple of years since Ralph took over,
mm-hmm.
we developed a bit of a nasty streak, and I think we needed that. We were always too good before, too polite, too nice, and we have the ability to get in and rattle teams, to rattle players, and when you're rattling players with the quality of Grealish and De Bruyne, you're doing something right. Yeah, exactly. And these guys, they know people are going to try and rattle them, but they keep their game above that.
Yeah, because they can, and they generally get the goal. Yeah,
exactly. But Mohamed Salisu starting to look like a really, really shrewd investment. Arguably his best performance in a Saints shirt on Saturday, and really, kept De Bruyne in his back pocket for a lot of it. He didn't get a lot of space, didn't get a lot of turn. But yeah, I won't hijack this into a Saints talk, but great result.
Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted you to have a chat about it as being your team as well, because it was part of the point as well. But yeah, we should very much say well done Southampton, but we just want to point out that there is something fun to take from the neutrals in the result, but also I think let's keep it realistic. They are still 9 points ahead, even though Liverpool have a game in hand. So it's it's something just to be wary of, but it's a great result for the Saints. And we'll talk about some more of that game in a little bit later on in a section. But the next thing I want to jump to, we will just discuss the Saints. We can pick up there. Looking at my notes, we're going to talk about just VAR and ref decisions in general. Like we talk about it a lot. We're not going to spend too long. We're just going to talk about very specific decisions. We're going to do a special at some point on VAR and how that's done. But I think we'll start at yours. Game, and then we'll go on to a few, because there was a few very questionable decisions this weekend that I think lots of them were very wrong, and clearly and obviously wrong, and that's the point of VAR, isn't it? So we'll start at yours, because there was two incidents in this one, which was obviously the City pen shout, which I think was Romeo, if I'm correct. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
I can't remember
the challenge. I think it was that actually is the last person to touch De Bruyne in the box. Yep. I don't know what your thought was on that one. Is he going down early when they slowed it down, or?
I think the problem is, I think if, as a Saints fan, I'm always going to be a little bit biased to this, but I do think that there's one angle which shows that there isn't a lot of contact at all, and I think that quite rightly so. I don't think that's a penalty.
Yeah,
I do think he goes down quite easy as well.
Yeah, and I do. I think you could argue it could be a pen on certain things. I think from the angles it's really hard, because it's not only the challenge, because it's Romeo's like leg at the bottom, but he's also half off balance and his chest's turned because he's been jostled by another player. So it's those things together at full speed. I can understand why that was, but I think I'm hesitant. I'm more leaning towards that it shouldn't be, and he is going down a little bit too much and being frustrated and looking for it. But the next incident, I'm very curious to see what your thought was. So this was not a goal. This was Armstrong's challenge, and it was kind of looked at and called by VAR to see if it should have been more than a yellow card, which was given. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think it was the right call on the day. I think that it didn't have the malice or the intent for a red card for me. It was a glancing blow. You could see him kind of move his foot back, and I think when you see the replays on VAR, you can see that he's making an attempt to stop the stamp.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it was more of a kind of forceful motion, if it was a more a kick out, I think that would have been a red card without a doubt. But I think because it was a kind of glancing off, I don't think it had, and it was high. Like, don't get me wrong,
yeah,
it has to be a yellow card.
I think the highness for me almost saves him. Because because do you know what I mean? Because it's almost he like rakes down the leg a little bit on the calf and then is the ankle stamp. I think, as you're saying, I'm saying it could have been a red card like that you could have seen them gone both ways is going to be my stance on that one. But the fact that you don't normally say that when it's higher, it may have benefited him, but because it's not a full, as you said, like a stamp on the ankle to like break an ankle, that's an obvious one. But it's almost a rake. It does catch him, but he is trying to lift off a little bit, so it's not like he's gone forcefully into that ankle. So I think that's what saves him.
I mean, I think sure, if that happened against Southampton, I'd be fuming.
Yeah, of course you would.
But I'm sure I've seen that sort of thing happen. I remember a couple of seasons ago, Danny Ings' shirt got ripped on his back where someone's studs come across, and that was just a yellow card. Unfortunately, these things happen. I don't think the intent was there.
Yeah.
It wasn't malicious.
Yeah.
And it wasn't particular. And I think Laporte hamming it up a little bit, putting it on his Twitter or whatever. Yeah, any cut looks bad if you let it bleed. Do you know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. Like, I'm not trying to divert it to my team and talk about my team as well, but obviously Diego Dallo got a cut on his ankle a couple of weeks ago, and he posted afterwards on Twitter. He played on. He had a really like I don't understand how he played on. Actually, he had a massive deep gash in his ankle, and it just bled everywhere. But it's like it's one of those things where it was just that happens in football, and I do think it was a reckless challenge. It's definitely a strong yellow. Some refs it would have gone to a red, but it's not like, as you said, he's not maliciously trying to instantly hit someone in the ankle on purpose. It's a rake, and it's then it goes into it. But we'll move on. So the next we've got to talk about, unless you've got any others you can think of, I've just got on my list, the 2 penalty shouts from 2 different games. We'll start off with the Jota one for the Liverpool game.
Shocking.
Yeah, I don't think we need to say our opinions. It's clearly not a penalty, right?
Yeah, absolutely shocking. I don't really know what's gone through the refs. See, this is the kind of thing that happens that makes me think that there's some sort of cabal that's running the PGMOL, because how in the hell is that a penalty?
Like when every single commentator, and I've seen it on multiple channels that were broadcasting it, when all of them are saying, well, the keeper's just come and it's a coming together, it's so obvious it's a coming together that it's like anybody that's played the game or watched the game for a long time can easily see that it's just a coming together and there's nothing in it at all.
The bottom line is, did Diego Jota have control of the ball at the time that he made the connection? No, the ball had gone out of bloody play by that point. It's ridiculous.
It's like the slowest slow-mo of 2 people coming together as well. It's not even like it's at force. Yeah. It's literally like they're both sliding a tiny bit, half trying to pull out and then just like touch each other. And so I think it's ridiculous. And, Fabinho dispatched it as he has done all season for Liverpool. I saw a lot of people questioning why he's taking them. He takes a lot of pens for Liverpool, and he's good at it. So, you can't blame him for scoring the goal. If he's given the opportunity, that's what you're going to do. But the decision's absolutely ludicrous. I think that's the most clear and obvious one you'll see all weekend. That exactly why VAR has been brought in to overrule stupidity like that.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Then the last one that we're going to talk about, I'm pretty sure I probably know your opinion. We actually haven't discussed this one, so I'm interested to hear. So we'll start with you again. But it was obviously the Kane versus Thiago Silva. So Kane is kind of through, puts his hand on the back of Thiago Silva. And is it a shove? Is it not? You can tell me in a minute, and then I'll discuss my thoughts. And then puts the ball away. Great finish from Kane, and it was said that he pushed Silva. So what's your thoughts on that one?
Silva just went down, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it was it was shocking. I think after Silva scored, he got pushed harder.
In the
celebration.
Yeah.
Did you put that in the group chat?
Yeah, I put that in the group chat. I was like, Azpilicueta's pushed Silva harder for the celebration than Kane did for the challenge.
I mean, that's absolutely shocking.
And the commentators again have put the nail on the head on this one. He's using all of his experience, and he's gone, I'm off-footed here. I can feel the hand in the back. I'm taking a risk here, but I'm so experienced. They're going to give it to me. And he went down. And for me, yes, there's a hand in the back. That does not mean, you're shielding as a striker. You're shielding people off. There's not enough. There is a push, and it is a push, but there's nowhere near the amount of force to knock Thiago Silva full on his face like that. I'm sorry. That's a bad decision.
And it's ridiculous. And then in the bloody United game, Kurt Zuma does the exact same thing to Ronaldo in the box. Does Ronaldo get a penalty? No, because there's no bloody consistency in refereeing at the moment. And that is, as you said, this is a topic, and I've asked you many times, can we do this topic? Because I've got so much to talk about on VAR, but this is one of the biggest problems is consistency.
Yeah, and I didn't even, when watching the match, I didn't even really think much of the Zuma Ronaldo one. I was like, okay, fair enough, they can look at it, but nothing's going to happen. And it was cleared up in 5 seconds. They're like, no, move on. Yeah. And
it's only when you compare the two games. And
absolutely,
I watched Match Today yesterday, and I saw the two games, and I saw, hang on a minute, that's the same. That's exactly the same challenge.
Yeah.
Exactly the same push, and two completely different.
And I just think also for Spurs, I'm slightly bitter because I had Harry Kane vice captain, and when Salah's not there, that'd have been juicy fantasy league points for me. But I just think it would have changed the face of the game a little bit because they played Spurs. Chelsea played Spurs 4 times this season, if I'm not wrong. I think I'm not wrong, and they haven't conceded a goal. And it's it just followed the same pattern, and it was the same thing. Speaking of VAR, I don't know why I didn't even think about this. I want to put this out there for the fans as well. Obviously, it's my team. I don't know why I didn't. Obviously, the last-minute goal from Rashford, which was jubilation for me on the weekend, there was a VAR call over this one. Now, the problem I have with this and social media as well, right? People make their own lines on the VAR and put stuff to it. So you've seen it again. We haven't discussed this one. What do you think about that decision for Cavani?
Well, this is the thing because was it Gary Neville tweeted out a picture where he'd put the line in?
Yeah. Thing is though, the lines on this is what everybody says, right? The lines on the grass is what you need to look at, not the line of the pitch. Like I saw there was an extremely salty West Ham fan who basically got the line from the 6-yard box and put it next to them. But I was like, but that's not how it's judged. It's on the grass and where it is. So if you actually look at the official VAR one, Cavani's clearly onside. And I do mean clearly onside because everyone's like, but it's his hand. But I'm like, yeah, but you can't score with your hand. And that's the point. The whole, his body and his feet and everything like that is absolutely fine. But it's where the lines are drawn by other people that you see it and you think, oh my God, that's definitely off. But it's not. It's onside.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're gonna jump down a rabbit hole about this. So, I mean, we should move on. But there will be a full,
absolutely,
full conversation piece. A full episode. We'll get Jamie and Steve in.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a rant session.
Yeah, we're just gonna rant. We're gonna bring up.
Absolutely.
Maybe it'd be interesting to do a kind of. Get a couple of us to do a pro VAR stance and do an old school debate kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on from that. One thing I just want to say quickly is, as my podcast and my team, I do just want to say, good on Rashford getting a goal there. And also, fun fact for you, I didn't think this was quite an interesting one as well. The last, and then we'll move on. Rashford is now either joint or outright, I can't remember which one it is, most goals for Manchester United in 90 plus minutes. He's got 4. I thought it'd be higher than that. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, we move on. So we're going to move on to transfers. We're not going to spend a huge amount of time on this at all. We just want to talk about a few transfer rumours. Some of them pretty much confirmed by some sources. So we're going to start with Newcastle, as we have done most of the time, and I think every transfer has kind of been based around it. So I have seen 3, I think, transfers this today even that seem to be there's something in it, something not. So the first one is that they had Diego Carlos from Sevilla. It looked like it was going to happen. Fabrizio Romano's kind of said, nah, it's not happening about 20 minutes ago. So from recording this, so I would say if he's saying that, we pretty much take Fabrizio's Bible around here and what he says goes. So I don't think that's going to go on. The other
I've just seen also just on that Sevilla have offered him a new deal, which matches the offer that Newcastle would
there you go. Anyway. So probably trying to stay using it for a bit of a deal booster, which lots of clubs do when they try and do a bigger name. And the interesting one, they're looking for an attacking midfielder. So obviously they looked at Van der Beek. I still think there's rumours going on there. But apparently now the 2 linked today from 2 different places are Lingard and Dele Alli. both of them totally could go, especially Lingard. He's looking at Lingard, I think, wants to do a loan if he goes to Newcastle, is what I've heard, because then he can go there, get some more football, improve himself. But then when he's a free agent, he could jump back to the Hammers if he wanted to, or whoever else, and then get a big signing on fee. So that's quite smart from him if that's the case. Dele Alli, I could also see it, not wanted at Spurs, and has taken a bit of a downtrend in the last few years, and it seems to be a lot of stuff happening off the pitch that's affecting him on the pitch. So could be one of them. I know you've seen some other rumours.
So I mean, I just have a general point actually to talk about with Newcastle, and it's been quite funny because as soon as someone has a fairly decent game, all of a sudden Newcastle link to them.
Yeah.
So after the Wolves game, James Ward-Prowse scored that free kick. The amount of rumours saying that Newcastle were looking at James Ward-Prowse. After the City game, Salisu had an absolutely amazing game. The amount of rumours that Newcastle have approached Southampton and are negotiating, obviously, absolute lie.
I think I'm just slightly numb to it because as a United fan, it happens every player you can possibly imagine. They use us for booster contracts all the time, but also every time we play a club and that person has a good game, instantly it's, they're joining United in the summer. It's like, no, they're not. I
mean, honestly, it's like they've got a shopping list, but the shopping list is far out of their league.
Absolutely.
And what you're seeing Newcastle linked with this player, and then you'll hear another thing being like, this player's never going to go to Newcastle. Yeah. This player doesn't see Newcastle.
Easy two stories from a newspaper is the problem.
Well, this is the thing, and this is the real problem with journalism in football at the moment. But it's just a little bit laughable whenever I see that they are Newcastle are looking at a player. Yeah. I have a little bit of a chuckle because a lot of the time they're going for players that are well out of their league.
Well, as we said, the problem is their recruitment policy seems to be let's throw a huge fishing net and cast it as wide as possible, rather than these are the people we've actually want to sign, apart from potentially Trippier, and then and it's just not going to happen for them, and they're going to pay away over the price if they can actually get people to join or not. Anyway, we'll move on. You said that you said a few Saints rumours to me earlier. So what's been happening there?
Yeah, so I mean, the most recent one actually is Saints are maybe interested in Dele Alli. How do I feel about that? I'm
not sure.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
there's a player there. Let's be honest.
Absolutely,
he's a great player, and I think one thing Ralph is good at is man management. And if there's one player that needs a bit of man management, it's Dele Alli.
Yeah.
So I have no doubts if he did come here. The thing is, it's his wages is the stumbling block because we wouldn't be prepared to pay for his entire wages.
Well, and interestingly, I don't know if you know this, as an off-topic thing, just from my professional life as what I do in the kind of the video games industry, Dele Alli actually is partnered with XL Esports, who are based in Twickenham, so he won't want to be moving that far. So that's another thing to looking at those clubs where that could be slightly closer to home as well. But I think he's had that where he's been interested in that and very heavily in that esports side of things. But I think there must be some other stuff going off the pitch because he has not looked the player he has. But when he has, there was a game, I can't remember who it was against, and he had so many good opportunities. And he looked like that spark of Ali like we're used to. But I just think he needs to get back to that. And if you can, you've got a hell of a player on your team. But if not, it's a big wage bill to foot for not much.
The other thing is the whole brochure thing. I think now we've got rumours that other clubs are looking and are preparing to make a bid in the summer. I think, and West Ham being one of them. I'm nervous because I think if we don't get something wrapped up in January, I don't think.
Don't want it to turn into bidding.
The only thing I can think of that works in our favour is that if we say to Chelsea, look, we'll give you the buyback clause. Because a team like West Ham probably isn't going to put a buyback clause in. We know Brozier has got bags of potential. And there's conflicting bits of information coming out here. Tuchel's saying he wants to see Brozier in pre-season before he makes any decisions, but Tuchel's not really in charge of those decisions. If Abramovich and Mariana, whatever her name is wants to make the sale, then the sale will be made. I'd love to see that happen. This in January, because I think that would just take a lot of pressure off.
Definitely.
But whether that does happen, who knows?
We'll see. And I think it's one of them where we talked about this last week, so I don't need to talk about that again, but we think it's a smart way for them to do the business with the buyback clause, but also he's settled in that team, he's scoring goals and he's working well there. So why would you change it if there's still a potential to go to Chelsea later on or a bigger club? So, there's that one. And the last thing I really had to say, I mean, there's tons of rumours everywhere, but this week's been particularly quiet. The only other one was that obviously pretty much confirmed by Fabrizio Romano as well. And I don't know if the picture's real. I think it is of Anthony Martial talking about Sevilla. He has signed there and they're going to pay his full wages. He signed on loan. I think it's good for everyone, even though he was involved in the 90th minute winner. He doesn't want to be there anymore. The whole Ragnick thing of him not wanting to go in the squad, he went to social and said that he wasn't. I think it probably is true with him. He's either world class and showing up to his potential for United was. Everyone forgets that it's 53 million or 54 million, but that was with winning everything. It was like winning the Ballon d'Or and all that kind of stuff because he had crazy potential, right? And he's shown it over the years when he wants to, even against Saints. He's done it to you before as well. I know that you have bad memories of that, but when he wants to do it, he really can, and he is a really, really special talent. But when he can't be asked, and that's quite a lot of the time, it really shows in his body language especially. And then he hasn't been in the French squad and all this kind of stuff's happening. So I think it's probably a good break from everyone where he goes on loan and then we maybe try to sell him if he does well. And I think that's the point. We're trying to get him to play some football, score a lot of goals, and then try and shift him for a fee rather than he sits on the bench, does nothing, and then we get a much lower fee for him in the summer. Anyway, we'll move on. So the last topic we kind of alluded to earlier, but I think there's a couple of points to make on it, is obviously, yes, again, last week, second episode in, last point of the agenda, we've had another manager sacked to the Premier League.
Yeah, as you said, we alluded to it earlier. Ranieri out 3 months.
Yeah, not long at all.
I mean, you don't want to see it, really, do you? Give him a bit of time. I know. The thing is, I don't even think I would say that Watford were potentially in the worst position.
Mm-hmm.
I do think they've got a decent squad in there, and I don't know. I just feel like how many players they got at AFCON?
Excuse me.
Some of the most influential, right? Yeah, they've got Trusticon, right? Ismaili Sarr.
And Dennis didn't go, I don't think.
Dennis didn't go, no. But they've got some some key players at AFCON. I'd have at least waited for that to finish before, because Ranieri's a good manager. You can't deny it.
This is my point as well. Like, the issue I have with Watford, and I understand their plan, because Watford have had incredible amounts of success, and we've talked about this before. They're the only club that have success where they get that instant transition from the manager to winning ways, and because they do so many sackings, they've seen that trend. It's a bit like Brentford with the whole Moneyball thing. It wouldn't work at another club, but it works at Watford. The issue I have is that they're chunking through so many managers. And I actually really like Ranieri. Problem is, if they're on a downwards trend, he came in and had a couple of positive games, couple of wins, couple of draws early, and then it's just been like loss. But he said they're missing players. They have had some injuries and stuff. But if you're preparing for life in the Championship potentially too, I know that's not what they're going to be thinking from their board level, but if you're realistic about it, Ranieri would be a great guy to rebuild a squad under if you wanted to believe in him for a year and come back with a stronger Ranieri squad in potentially a year's time on the bounce back, because I think they could if they had some investment as well in the squad. And then they could maybe try and stay in the Premier League for another couple of seasons before they go back down again. But as you said, they haven't done that. They've decided to go against it. And the problem is, I just think there's going to be so many Watford fans which are just so pissed off at the moment, because they might have been like, Ranieri's going to do good as well, but they might have the opposite thing, and they might be used to the way their board reacts now and fires and hires and fires and hires. But I just don't think it's sustainable. And the problem is, who are they going to get to replace them? Are they going to be anything like them? The rumours at the moment, we've seen kind of linked earlier today, seems to be ramping up a bit, is Roy Hodgson.
I can confirm he has been appointed.
Oh, literally, while we've been talking, he has been appointed. So
yeah, he has been appointed.
I can adjust slightly to what I was going to say, to definitely if he joins. Problem I have with Roy Hodgson is, yes, he's great at relegation battles. Not going to not say he's not. I'll give him credit where credit's due. Problem is, he plays boring football that the fans hate. that everybody else hates watching in the Premier League. Just look at the Palace fans and see how they've reacted when they've had Vieira to Hodgson. And I just think I personally would have given Ranieri a chance to turn it round and then built for life with them. Hodgson, is he really going to try and, after retiring, and that was probably it, he's 73, I think, and it's just
74.
Like
Oldest ever
around.
Premier League manager.
Like, he's not going to do a season in the Championship and then try and take him back up. It's not a long-term plan, is it? It's a Sam Allardyce fix, isn't it?
Yeah, so the deal is to the end of the season, and then all parties will assess at that point. So, I mean, look, he's a safe pair of hands, isn't he? He knows football. He's got a 45-year management career, 22 clubs. I guess he'll do the job. It's not the inspiring signing that I think a lot of Watford fans would have thought. I do think that Ranieri would have come good in the end. And especially if Watford do go down, I think if they'd have managed to keep hold of Ranieri, I think they would have bounced back up because they have got a decent squad. I spoke to my old boss, who's a Watford fan. And the sentiment is just like, I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? That's just Watford now. Which is,
not good.
There are times, I'm sure you've had it with United, the times with Southampton, I'm like, I don't even know what we're going to do at this point. But I can't even imagine it being in this scale.
Not at all. Not at all.
The management turnover is outrageous. I mean, there's a list of names here.
We said it on an episode not that recently. Like, obviously, just for Ranieri, it was something ridiculous. Like, there was one manager that was there for like 4 days or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's like
Oscar Garcia. So since their owners, the Pozzo family, took over, we've had Sean Dyche, Zola, Sanino, Oscar Garcia, Billy McKinley, Djukanovic, Kike Sanchez Flores, Mazzari, Marco Silva, Javi Garcia, Kike Flores again, Nigel Pearson, Vladimir Ivic, Xisco Muñoz, Claudio Ranieri, and now Roy Hodgson.
Yeah, and they tried, you joked earlier, didn't you, in the group chat? You're like, is it Flores for the third stint? But the problem is, right, so let's say it doesn't go well for them. Let's say they stick on the trajectory, like we said earlier, and they probably go down. Hodgson doesn't go with them. He doesn't manage to do it. Who are they going to get? Realistically, they're probably going to look at getting someone from the Championship that's taken a team fairly far, or even somebody that gets relegated, and then they're going to invest more cash in the team that they went down with to bring them in. Like, okay, here you go for you. Here's a Community FC prediction. I don't think it's actually going to happen, but wouldn't this be funny? We've talked about managers that have managed them before. What was the first name you mentioned on the list?
Sean Dyche. I was waiting for you to say that.
So what about a Burnley go down as well, and Sean Dyche goes back there? I actually think, right, I thought about this earlier. If Everton don't appoint anyone to the end of the season, I think they will. But if they don't, obviously, I think Rooney. I said before, and I said months ago that was I could see it happening. So actually, that was, if that comes true, I'm proud of the ball knowledge or foresight of that one. But actually, I think if they stayed up, Sean Dyche should be an absolute shout for the Everton job. I really do.
Yeah, I think imagine what he could do when he got some money.
Yeah, like the owners are, building this ridiculously crazy new stadium on the wharf. It looks amazing. They're going to invest in them. If they had, Calvert-Lewin fully fit and all that kind of stuff, and some of the true signings they have, I could see Sean Dyche doing absolute bits with them. So, but who knows? That's only predictions. But I just think that's kind of all the points we had. I just think it's sad that there's another turnover. We both like Ranieri, hasn't been given enough time. But like, how many times are they going to see? If Hodgson loses all the games, they're going to get rid of him? No, because they probably just sunk their battleship now, haven't they? And they've spent it all on that.
Interesting to see how much to learn how much money they've spent on the
managers or contract. Yeah. Oh, it would be awful. It would be horrendous amounts of money. Absolutely horrendous. But that is kind of all we're going to talk about on Community FC this week. We had a variety. It's been a bit of a quieter week in terms of everything, kind of news stories and traction on transfers, and even the games themselves, apart from on the weekend. Obviously, there's not any football coming up for the Premier League for another week, and then we go into the FA Cup, and then we go back to the Prem. So we might do an episode next week. We're still deciding on that. We might do a special. Who knows? It could even be the infamous VAR session. So if you want to be seeing that, or definitely don't want to miss that, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Like the content if you like the new format that we're doing at the moment. Give us a comment or hit the notification bell, because then you'll know when we put some videos up. And also, for all you lovely new audio listeners, we have officially gone onto Spotify. So if you're listening out and about, you don't have time to watch a full video on YouTube, or just don't want to look at both of us, which, fair enough if you don't want to. I get that.
Fair play.
We are now on Spotify, so you can check us out on there. Obviously, Community FC, same logos and everything on socials. Give us a follow, because then we know that you're going to be doing it, and you get it sent to your feed, obviously, or it's in your podcast section. And if you do end up listening to some of the episodes, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating, because it helps more people get involved in the podcast. And we hope that people are going to really like to do that medium, because some people like to, listen where they're driving, out and about, all sorts of stuff. So some people, it's just an easier listen. But we love the fact that we're coming to you on both YouTube from a video podcast perspective and just straight audio from Spotify. So check us out, give us a follow on all that good stuff. And I just want to say thank you very much again, Rich, for joining us.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me as always.
No, you're very welcome. And we will see you all potentially next week, and if not the week after, when some more of the football is back. Have a good week, everyone.